What is up, guys? I just wanted to do a quick update to my mining room. If you haven't seen the first video that I did introducing it right after I built it, I encourage you to go back and watch that one before you watch this one, because this is just an update, a continuation of that one. I won't be going into the whole airflow, the air filter box and them things that I set up. I talk about that in the first one. But I just want to go over some of the changes that I made. So this, of course, is the main access panel where I can access each of the rigs using this little pad right here. I can switch between the different rigs and have mouse, keyboard, and screen, everything plug into that rig just by pressing that button. Another thing I added to my arsenal was this air compressor. Just to keep things clean, dust free. And then one more thing that I did is I added some soundproofing. I don't think I talked about it in my last video. What I did first is I put some aluminum soundproofing that is normally used in vehicles, in cars, to soundproof vehicles. So I put that on the door first. It's stuck on there beautifully, and then I put these foam pads on it. So when I close the door now and the rig is running, it is very quiet in here, so you don't even really hear the rig. The only noise that I get into my office here is through the outside door, and that is that big fan on top there. So I can hear the big fan, but it's really not coming through this door here. It is coming through the outside, just because that outside door is not insulated very nicely. And now, as you might remember from the my first video that I did, I kind of walk you through the whole airflow concept that I had going here. So basically the air intake is at the bottom, and then the outtake fan is on top here. I have two fans. I'm only using one. I find that's plenty. Now the idea with that one was, and it worked well, is that the fresh air would come in at the bottom, it would get sucked through the whole room and then out on top. It worked well, except when it started getting quite warm outside. And for some reason, and I can't quite explain it, but there was a warm air bubble stuck inside the room. But it only happened when it was getting, quite warm on the outside. The outside air coming in was quite warm. So for some reason, it just left some sort of a bubble in the room, and it would just not suck the hot air out. So what I decided to do is, instead of that open air concept in the room, to isolate each rig and basically close off the outside air from getting sucked out by the big fan. So in order for the big fan to suck air out, it has to suck the outside air through the rigs. And to help it do that, I have put fans behind the rig here. So basically the fresh air gets pushed through the rig, and then it gets sucked out at the top. Okay, it's a lot more efficient. One thing I did do originally is I had glass in here. So I had glass dividers between each of the graphics cards. My argument for that was that, insulate each card as much as possible. So the heat from one card will never get sucked into another one, and it'll be like a standalone unit, kind of like a home gaming PC. But for some reason, it was not as efficient as I thought it would be. And the cards run a lot cooler when I just take when I took the glass pieces out. So I ended up doing it. It's a bit of a shame because it looked quite cool with the glass in between there. So yeah, so that's kind of the big change that I did here. I took out the open air concept that I had and basically put this in here, insulated each of the rigs that way. So really the bottom rig will never contaminate the higher up rigs with its warm air, because, well, the warm air will never make it in there. It'll get sucked right past it. Well, the warm air from each rig gets pushed out this way. So all the warm air is coming out this way. Now, there are a couple of regrets that I have in regards to how I built this room. I do wish that I had built it a little deeper. I think I did about 2 feet deep with the spaces in here. I really should have done at least 3 feet, so I would have had a bit more space to work with. And then, you know, I would have had a bit better airflow all around too. Would have had a bit more room in the back here for the fresh air to come in. Same with the front for the warm air to come out and get sucked out. I mean, there's plenty here. That's not really an issue, but I do wish I had made it a little deeper than what I did. But overall, quite good. Very happy with it. As you can tell, I got 3 rigs. I got the bottom rig here, which has 2 1080 Ti's and 10 1080s. My second rig has 2 480s, RX 480s, and 7 RX 580s. And then my final rig here is the smaller one. It has 3 2060 Supers. I have the room to add 3 more. I'll have to move things around a bit, or I'm thinking eventually I might replace this anyway with the 12 GPU rig right here. I do have some room for expansion. I could add at least 2 more rigs on top of here if I wanted to, but my thinking is I might do 1 more 12 GPU rig on top here, and then I'd leave the very top for some ASICs, so it'd have some room for, I don't know, 5, 6 or so ASICs that I could put on top there. Okay. I do have the power capabilities for it. I probably have to replace these breakers, but that's easily done. It's cheap. I can easily do that. So I do have the capabilities of doing it. The wiring is pretty thorough, very hardcore. I had an electrician go over it, and he was quite impressed with it. So yeah, that is not a problem. But yeah, it's a bit of a shame with the open air concept, because I like open air, the idea of open air, but it has its limitations. So I really don't like forced air cooling as I have done here, but it is a lot more efficient. If you're going to be using fans anyway, you might as well, you know, control as much of it as you possibly can. So overall, I think I'm using actually less electricity overall running it this way than the way I did it before, just because everything is a lot more efficient. The GPUs don't use quite as much electricity to, you know, ramp up their own fans. Like for example, this rig right here, the RX series, they only run, I think it's about 60% fan speed non-stop, pretty much 24/7. So yeah, it's super efficient even on warmer days. So I'm very happy with that. But yeah, so that's the update. If you have any questions, be sure to let me know in the comments. I will check back and I will do my best to answer it. I'm sure I missed some details, but again, if you have any questions, be sure to let me know. And I'll be doing more videos soon to talk about different aspects of mining that I do here. All right. Hope you subscribe, and talk to you next time.